How's it going, everybody? You're listening to the premiere edition of Guerrilla Radio, the podcast that exclusively covers pro wrestling Guerrilla. I'm Tony, and I'm joined by my co-host, Dave. Dave, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Just watched a great DVD.
Yeah, that's what we're here to do today. We're here to review Pro Wrestling Guerrilla 13. For those of you who don't know, this is the 13th anniversary show for Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. This show was on Friday, July 29th, 2016. And let's open up with our first match on the card. We had Adam Cole versus Brian Cage.
Yeah, Brian Cage is kind of like the guy that they put in when they just need an extra guy, unfortunately. It seems like the last year he's been kind of de-pushed a bit within the company. Adam Cole obviously is, very important, and he's the current ROH World Champion. I mean, he's pretty great, but he was coming back into this match from a 3-week layoff of pneumonia.
Yeah, that's what they mentioned in the commentary. I don't know. We were talking about this when we first started watching the show. We couldn't figure out, because I don't know, when's the last time we live in Southern California. Right. We've been to a bunch of Pro Wrestling Guerrilla shows. So it's been a while since I've actually sat here and actually bought a DVD. So I was wondering, we didn't know between the two of us whether or not with the audio commentary was the default sound or we had to switch it over.
Yeah, I'm used to actually being at the shows, so I hardly ever watch them twice.
Yeah, but back in the day, obviously we've been going to Pro Wrestling Guerrilla for quite a while.
Yes.
And usually what they'll do with the gimmick was, I guess they would do the commentary in post. So when you buy the DVD, you would have to switch it over to the alternative commentary to get the play-by-play.
I remember fans at the time saying that was because the commentary was so bad that it's not like the first thing that they wanted people to hear. So they just it was like understated.
I'm trying to be nice here, Dave.
No, I mean the commentary was really bad. Apparently, I didn't listen to enough of it to give a real judgment there.
Well, yeah, they mentioned in the commentary that Adam Cole was coming off of, I think 3 weeks ago, he was coming off of some pneumonia.
Adam Cole, actually, for all my ragging on him, looks like he's dropped a pound or two from his usual pile of pizza dough physique. Though I did find out that he had pneumonia and couldn't eat solid food for about 3 weeks. So that'll do it.
Yeah, you could clearly tell from Adam Cole in this match that he was a little slow. He was probably I would describe it as like maybe first or second gear.
Yeah, I was definitely like strong second gear. Adam Cole in second gear is, most workers would kill to be in Adam Cole's second gear. So, not really saying that he was doing poorly in the match. Just, not fantastic.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Brian Cage, too. Obviously, before, he was a lot smaller, so he moved a lot better. He was one of these guys who was, I guess, just moonlighting in PWG until he got to actually work in WWE. Do you know what happened in that scenario? Because I know supposedly he got a contract, but then he never seemed... I
don't know about WWE, but I know, he's a big thing in Lucha Underground, so...
No, but I meant for a while when he first came to the company, he was first just, he would do a show here and there.
Oh, right.
As he was just killing time before he went to WWE, and then that sort of dissolved because you just saw him on Pro Wrestling Guerrilla show after show after show.
Exactly. He's a local guy. I think he's pretty great, honestly. For his size, he's very
well, that's the thing I was bringing up. He used to move a lot better. I don't know. Maybe it could have been a while since I've seen him wrestle, but he's obviously a smaller guy now, considering he's so jacked now.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I remember the Fighting Taylor brothers. It was Chuck Taylor, Ryan Taylor, and Brian Cage Taylor.
That's another guy. What happened to Ryan Taylor?
Oh, Ryan Taylor's Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. He's part of Vermin.
Okay, so
he wrestles in EWF as well. So
that's another guy. I understand. I mean, I understand that PWG is like a big deal now. So the idea of him not being able to make on the card,
Rock Nest Monsters, another act that, I think they should be in there. But
there's lots of guys there.
Or
should be there. I wonder
Peter Avalon, yeah.
You're more familiar with the SoCal wrestling scene. Some of these guys, I don't know if they retired or just Pro Wrestling Guerrilla stopped booking them.
Oh no, they didn't. None of them retired. The PWG just stopped booking them. Great acts like Candice LeRae, Joey Ryan, obviously, Joey's still doing his thing. He's still a very big deal, YouPorn and all that, Candice LeRae's doing a lot in Shimmer, but she moved out of state, so they're just not really lifting much of a finger to keep those guys around either. So.
But, going back to the opening match here on Pro Wrestling Guerrilla 13, this is a fun outing. The match went 11:43. It was a fun opener, but at the same time, you kind of hope a big Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, the anniversary show, that they would maybe kick it up a notch and have a good kick-ass match where this was fine.
Yeah,
This was
absolutely fun. I thought that the strategy going into the match, and you can kind of tell what Adam was kind of trying to go with here. It was, there's a bit of comedy at first, but eventually, Cage, he's a big guy, so his strength to dominate Cole, which eventually, when you got a big guy in there and a small guy in there, was the best strategy. The little guy neutralized the big guy by taking out his legs, and Cole did that really well. And then the match kind of, I think it had a good beginning, a good middle, and kind of like a not so great ending. So, which was the Oklahoma roll with Cole holding the ropes. So
yeah, that was kind of an anticlimactic finish considering what they'd been setting up in the match earlier. My favorite part is the beginning of the match when Adam Cole claims to be the strongest man in the ring, and you could just tell from looking at the guys, it's like, yeah, man, sure you are. You're a lot stronger than the big jacked up Brian Cage.
Yeah. And then he goes for the test of strength. And Brian Cage is like, well, I've got to meet him at his level. So he gets down on his knees, and he's about the height of Adam Cole at that point. But that, of course, incites the fans to ask Brian Cage to suck Adam Cole's dick.
I would distract him with a test of strength.
Yeah, there was that spot where he was doing the test of strength, and he had his head up to his crotch, and he was almost like he was bouncing his head off of his crotch.
Yeah. Not usually so the other way around, but in this case, it definitely got the fans interested.
Another thing that may have obviously, I didn't attend this show live. I think you came to it late, right?
Yeah.
So I'm reading notes from the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla message board that apparently it was very hot. Apparently, obviously we went to Bola. And we've been to Pro Wrestling Guerrilla shows before, but apparently that show and this show that we're reviewing, 13, was apparently the hottest it's ever been in that arena. So
wow.
This could have been a victim of that. Just the idea that there's just so many bodies and there's no air.
I was there again the second part of the show, and I wasn't waiting out in the sun for hours. Mm-hmm. So but.
But I'm saying you put all those bodies in that small confined area,
usually,
and there's no air running through. They have the doors closed, and you're having all these people sucking in all that air, and it's very humid in there. From what I remember from Bola Weekend.
I imagine the majority of our audience has been to a PWG show. You understand how the audience and the atmosphere itself is just such a big factor.
It's very forgiving. You're obviously very forgiving because the action's so good, but really the conditions are really just unbearable sometimes.
Yeah. You must really love wrestling.
Just bodies on top of bodies, yes. And it's hard to breathe.
And we do. It's the best wrestling in the world. So.
Well, I'm saying that this match maybe could have suffered a little bit because.
Oh yeah.
Like
You're
I said,
right. Yeah.
Someone described it as it's never been like this before. Obviously, it's been hot before in the past, but someone said it's never been like this before.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, so, I think, spoiler alert, Battle Los Angeles was not that hot this year. So, it actually was not that sweaty. So, that was nice. Usually it's like the sweatiest nights of the year. So
there you go. All right, move on to our second match. Roderick Strong versus Timothy Thatcher. What did you think, Dave?
I really like Timothy Thatcher's work. Roddy's Roddy. He's fantastic. But, for whatever reason, this match really didn't gel that well with me. It's Roddy's last match in PWG, we think. And
well, it's funny. We're recording this show September 12th, 2016, yes. And word just came out through the internet that Roderick Strong has officially signed with WWE.
Yeah, absolutely. So congratulations to him, and I'm interested to see what he does. We were talking about it earlier. When do you think he's going to go to NXT, or is he going to...
See, that's the thing I was wondering too. It's like they could go in either direction with that guy. He could either go straight to NXT, or WWE starting that cruiserweight division on Raw, so
right.
They may stick him there. But then you brought up a very good point too. The idea of him and Austin Aries used to be a tag team back in the day. And really, right now, Austin Aries seems like he's sort of floundering. Like maybe he might feud with Nakamura for the title, but you're not sure. So if you have something to do, if you don't have anything to do with him for a while, you could just have him be a tag team. Because when I think about it, that would be actually some great tag team matches. The Revival versus Austin Aries and Roderick Strong.
Right, absolutely. That would be fantastic. They have such great chemistry together. I still think that at the time they're kind of thrown together back in ROH in 2006, 2005, but they were incredible. I was one that those were a couple of the best years in ROH history, and they still are one of the best tag teams in ROH history. So that says a lot.
Yeah, that'd be something cool what they could do with him down the road. But this match, it was fun. Obviously, you think Timothy Thatcher, it's going to be they even made fun of in commentary when later on when Timothy Thatcher was on the top rope. He's like, I bet that's the longest Timothy Thatcher's ever been on the top rope, because obviously he's a guy who usually has a very grounded, sort of realistic kind of grappling style. So the idea of they had, it was a very grappling intensive match, but there were in fact some segments obviously where they were doing stuff off the top. This is probably what you expect when you're fantasy booking this match. The idea of a Roderick Strong versus Timothy Thatcher match, very obviously, like I mentioned earlier, which grappling intensive. Couple of strikes. How you follow? I guess indie pro wrestling a lot closer than I do. How long has Roderick Strong been doing that knee? Because it's kind of a cool move. Because really, up until then, I don't really know what his finisher was. The stronghold where he had it was like the walls of Jericho, but he had the knee in. So I don't remember what his finisher was. It's kind
of like a running kick. Usually, I guess it's like one of his finishers. But his knee, he's been doing this probably for this particular knee. He's probably been doing maybe once in a while. There's another knee that he does to the face. That's really more of his like finisher kind of thing. So I don't know. He doesn't usually end with that as his finisher, which I think kind of left the fans wanting a little bit more.
Yeah, that's another thing. I don't know how many people knew at the time, but in retrospect, this could have been in theory his last match in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla.
Right.
And like really, God bless Timothy Thatcher and God bless this match, but really a guy who's won. The Pro Wrestling Guerrilla titles, done so many great matches and programs. The fact that you're going to have his last match in the company be against Timothy Thatcher, second on the card, it's like,
yeah, over 10 years, Roderick Strong's been in PWG, so yeah, it's a really fucking long time. But yeah, I mean, we'll see more of them later, I'm sure. Going to the next match.
Oh, this match went 10 minutes and 48 seconds.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm going to do that thing. That's how I put the period at the end of every single match.
Gotcha. All right.
Moving on to our next match, Jeff Cobb versus Trevor Lee.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if you've seen a lot of Jeff Cobb previously up until this point.
Apparently have seen him in Lucha Underground as Montaza. He's a former Lucha Underground world champion. He won his first night into the promotion, obviously under a mask. And I guess he lost the title to Rey Mysterio Jr. I just stopped watching Lucha Underground like kind of early into the second season, and I hope to catch up on it eventually. But he's a very talented wrestler, and I thought that Montaza would be older and be like a little bit more darker, but no, he's like a young, athletic, Olympic-style wrestler, Jeff Cobb.
Yeah, your first impression is he's kind of a big guy.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think you commented, it's like, you look at his physique and you think, oh, this guy's going to be kind of slow.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a friend of Excalibur and that's how he got booked on the card. But really, we couldn't have been more wrong, or at least I had that thought maybe at the beginning when I first heard of this guy. But really, this is a guy who's a legitimate, Olympian, guy who's actually wrestled and qualified for the 2004 Summer Olympics in Athens. So this is a guy who's got a legitimate shoot background, but at the same time, he was out there doing standing shooting star presses, standing moonsaults, and it's like, wow, that stuff just blew my mind.
Absolutely, and you do all that, and then you combined it with an amazing suplex game that got wrench suplex. That like how he's just like rolling into more and more gut wrench suplexes.
Oh yeah,
just that series of moves. Right,
the way he just picked Trevor Lee up with ease was just mind boggling, because it's like obviously this guy is a very strong guy, very compact. He was able to throw around Trevor Lee with ease. And then obviously the match opened up with them doing a lot of, I guess you would say, traditional matches where he was riding him, he took his back, he was slapping him around to a degree, and it's like. You don't really get enough in that, and then especially in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla on the indie scene, where someone who not only has a legitimate background but could implement that into his match. Obviously, the only person I can really think of who's even sort of like that. What's his name? The former UFC guy.
Former UFC guy. That's
the one in Evolve.
The one in Evolve.
The one who wrestles in his bare feet.
His bare feet. Well, I have no idea.
I'll look this up very briefly.
All right, you work on that. I thought this match was really good. It started to pick up for me in that the first two matches felt like, okay, these are competent matches. These are like, you definitely would be happy to see this on Monday, on Mondays, or on a WWE pay-per-view even. But at the same time, it was just like, wow, this is not blow away at all. Like we're used to in PWG. And, by the time of the third match, I felt like, okay, we're at a PWG show. There's one guy in this match. I've never seen him wrestle before that I knew of. And, he's incredible. He has a totally different style. He's not, you can't judge him by how he looks. Jeff Cobb, I'm referring to, of course. And Trevor Lee, a guy I don't like that much, honestly. I don't like Trevor Lee that much, honestly. But the guy, from time to time, I don't even generally think of him as a good wrestler, and I know that's wrong. But
well, here's the thing: you said that going into the match, and you said while watching, he's like, I don't normally like Trevor Lee, but man, this is a really good match.
Yeah,
and he's holding his own. Like it's not just something where Cobb's carried him to a really great match. It's like, no, Trevor Lee's holding his own here. And I'm a guy who obviously I am very familiar with Trevor Lee, big fan of Trevor Lee, but like I said, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and you're not really, like I said, the gimmick thing kind of maybe rubs people the wrong way. I've heard stuff like that before in the past. The fact that he's a member of the TNA roster, I'm sure doesn't.
Yeah, that doesn't help him at all. He makes him a natural heel for sure. And he's from Cameron, North Carolina. Did you know that?
Across the middle rope. And now, twist of fate on the ring apron.
He's doing a gimmick with Shane Helms right now, or at least he was for a while. Earlier this year, he won the X Division title, and he was just like, the guy from Cameron, North Carolina. He's obnoxious about it. That's where the Hardys are from, and Helms. And he's actually transitioned a little bit into that into PWG. He definitely was doing that a bit at Bola. And he's just kind of hateable to me. But I will say every once in a while, every like 6 months or maybe every year, I see a Trevor Lee on a match, and I'm like, yeah, the guy is a good wrestler, and he did a really good match. So this match, while not like blow away, was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, this may have been another victim of the bodies and the temperature, really, because like I said, it was still a fun match. Cobb, they mentioned in commentary that his first match in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, he did really well, but he kind of blew.
Oh wait, no, this is a second.
Oh, second. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. We even commented on this when we were watching the show on DVD. It's like, wow.
Our first time watching, bro.
Yeah, our first time watching. It's like, wow, this is going by really fast. But yeah, the second match here on the card. Oh no, third match on the card. I was right. The second match was Roderick Strong versus Timothy Thatcher.
Right.
We're talking Jeff Cobb versus Trevor Lee.
No, this is the third match.
That's what I said.
I thought you said it was Jeff Cobb's first match. He's been in PWG.
Oh, okay. I'm confused. No, I was saying this may have been a victim of the venue and the temperature and the heat. And like I said, really good match. The person I was trying to think of earlier, remember the guy I was telling you, the guy that used to be a UFC fighter and now works Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and Evolve?
Okay.
Matt Riddle.
Matt Riddle. I had no idea. That's cool.
You've seen Matt Riddle wrestle before too.
I didn't know he was like an MMA guy.
Yeah, he's like a legit MMA guy. I guess he had to bow out because he got too many violations for smoking marijuana.
That's not a great reason to get kicked out of the UFC. I mean, I understand really like he wants to smoke pot, but like the fact that they'll kick somebody out for that is ridiculous.
Well, them's the rules.
Yeah.
But yeah, really good match. Match went 11 minutes and 20 seconds. Moving on to our fourth match, Chuck Taylor versus Trent.
So I guess Jerry Ryan was on commentary and he kind of mentioned why maybe there's some hostility between, best friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent, that they've been going back and forth and kind of talking smack to each other on the internet. But other than that, it felt like, why are we seeing the best friends fight? Like
in fact, the crowd started when they immediately showed the match on DVD. The crowd is immediately chanting "hug, hug, hug."
He has made a lot more money, but you're still a better wrestler. Doesn't pay the bills the same way, but
Yeah. Are these guys gonna hug it out?
The handshake.
That's not a hug.
It's not a hug, but
that's not a hug.
Eventually, a couple minutes in, they do give a hug, and then immediately Chuck Taylor goes for an eye rake. and because he's such a dick. But I mean, at this match was a lot of fun. I think like what they kind of needed. I've been going to anniversary shows of PWG for a long time, probably since like 2007. And they've always seemed to have like some kind of like hardcore match, some kind of like, hardcore element to it, on those shows, because the PWG is really not a hardcore promotion at all. But on their anniversary shows, they'll have like something that's a little bit more violent and, kind of more of like a callback to when we used to see a lot more violent wrestling. And Trent introduced a chair into the match, and many chairs after that, and he had us a thumbtack.
And I like their justification for breaking the rules. The ref, Justin, he just let it go, and I guess apparently Trent Beretta tried to justify. He's like, "Well, we're friends, and if there's different rules for friends." Or what was the expression he used?
We're best friends. There are no rules. Yeah. So. Which makes sense,
Really? Explain how that makes any sense, Dave.
Oh, okay. Well, in my mind, it makes sense.
In the wacky world of profession wrestling, it makes sense.
Well, I mean, they're best friends, right? If you trust your best friend, then you guys will let a little more go in a fight, maybe, I don't know how many times you fought in your best friend, but, teenage boys will understand what I'm talking about.
Dave, we're cool now. I'm glad you joined me on this Pro Wrestling Guerrilla podcast.
Yeah.
If we ever have a pro wrestling match, we are not using thumbtacks.
Oh, okay.
So you know. Just
right.
In case, just so.
Would you let the referee just like let us do whatever we wanted, or are you going to?
Well, I want this to be documentation. If you and I ever a pro wrestling guerrilla match, and you tell the ref, "Oh no, it's cool. We can have plunder.
We're friends."
It's like no,
it's not cool.
we may in fact be friends, but I am not cool with a hardcore match. I am not cool with chairs. I am not cool with ladders. I'm not cool with thumbtacks, especially thumbtacks.
Oh, whatever. That's too bad.
Maybe you could pull a Joey Ryan and throw me on a bed of gummy bears. I'm cool with that.
Mouth first, I'm sure.
Yeah, there you go. But the chairs and the ladders, no.
Nah. Yeah.
There's even that one spot where he did the back body drop. Trent Beretta back body dropped Chuck Taylor into a ladder.
Yeah.
And you think whatever, it's a pro wrestling match, whatever. He safely landed on the back of his shirt. No. He completely missed the ladder. Yeah. His head clipped the ladder, and I'm like. Wow.
Much worse. Yeah, much worse than if you land on the ladder flat like you're supposed to.
And from there, I just imagine, I'm like, oh, okay, they're going to go home because Chuck Taylor's probably all kinds of messed up. But no, it's at that point they decided to bust out the thumbtacks.
Yeah, the thumbtacks, and they do some, moves on it, and the fans are chanting, no, because...
Oh, by all means, go on your soapbox.
Yeah, I'm going to go on my soapbox about that. So there's a point in the match where it's kind of dangerous, the illusion of danger, I'm sure, There's thumbtacks on the mat, and you got two very talented workers in there that have been wrestling for over 10 years apiece. One guy's been in the WWE, and he was there for years. And the fans are they're saying, no, don't, go into the thumbtacks. Like, and unanimously saying don't use the thumbtacks, like a bunch of really loud fans got the whole crowd into it. And it's just like, what is this wrestling world coming to? In 2016, when we can't see guys to like take bumps off the thumbtacks with that kind of experience, I just find it far too common in smart mark crowds that they think like, okay, that move right there. Oh, they shouldn't be doing that. Like, that's too dangerous. They shouldn't. Oh, you know what? I was going to give this 5 stars, but I'm giving it 3 now because they had an unprotected chair shot in the match. Or this was just completely uncalled for. They don't need to be doing pile drivers in there. And I'm just thinking, you need to judge the art, which wrestling is, the art form, off the quality of what it is. Not think like, oh, that was dangerous art. That was too dangerous, like, for the performers. You just need to, like, if they're willing to take that, I'm not asking them to, but if they're willing to do the moves that they're wanting to do in the match to, show us the artistic vision of what a great match is, then let them do it. And shut your mouth, Mark, because we really don't need to hear it. We really don't need to hear how sensitive you are to other wrestlers who know what they're doing getting hurt. So
yeah, basically what you're saying is they should be allowed to do whatever they want. If they feel like going through thumbtacks, by all means.
If they feel like going through flaming tables or like whatever, man, like barbed wire, fluorescent, well, maybe not fluorescent light tubes. They have cancer, carcinogens inside the fluorescent light tube. So if you go to a wrestling show with fluorescent light tubes, don't breathe. Basically, when they break those things. But
I will agree with you on this.
Yeah, okay.
The idea of going on thumbtacks, like really, you're not going to mess yourself up long term by just going on a bed of thumbtacks. Like, there's been no pro wrestler who's had to retire because they decided to take a bump on a bed of thumbtacks.
Right. They're just being smart. They're being smart asses. They're like, oh, that's not necessary. Like, let's not do that. I don't want to see the blood or something. Because
to a degree, obviously, we like I just mentioned earlier, the spot where Chuck Taylor banged his head on the ladder because he didn't land on the ladder properly. That kind of stuff like that. I'm like, please, just stop. But I will say this: we do have the mutual ground that. Yeah, the thumbtacks, who really cares? It's like, I'm sure it hurts like a mother, but at the end of the day, you're not seriously injuring yourself.
It doesn't break any bones.
It doesn't break any bones.
I mean, they barely bleed at all when they get the thumbtacks in them. Yeah. It was like a little bit, like it's popping a pimple, I
don't know about that. I mean, maybe we could perform a live experiment.
I'm not saying that's what it feels like. I'm saying that's how much blood comes out of each puncture piece of skin that attack would leave. It's like popping a pimple. So.
All right, there we go. This match went 15-47. Moving on to our next match, Marty Scurll versus Sami Callihan, or as he was affectionately referred to at this night, the Space Cat.
Space Cat, man. And, this is not the first PWG this is the first PWG show that we see Space Cat. Sami Callihan, obviously with the cat mask on before the match. But it will not be the last, so that's kind of cool. But man, the fans are really into the cat gimmick.
Talk about a guy reinventing himself. Obviously, Sami Callihan was in NXT for a while, sort of floundered.
He had like a really lame hacker gimmick,
and now he's sort of back on the indie scene, back in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Talk about a guy reinventing himself, because really, obviously, a lot of things got reactions. Everybody had fun tonight, but really, nothing really quite got us over as much Space Cat.
I mean, that's arguable. That's a very arguable point. Honestly, I can't think of another thing that got him over more, other than maybe quality of certain matches. But as far as an act, that might have been the most over act on the show. Yeah. I don't think it really should have been necessarily, but
he should just run with it because it's obviously the crowd's into it, and obviously he has a shelf life. But just ride it out as long as he can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
make some Space Cats T-shirts. I'll buy one.
He should have one, and I almost think that he has one because it's such a damn good idea. So, but lots of meows from the crowd. It's a crowd gimmick. It makes the crowd happy. A lot of tips, like hissing at Marty Scurll.
He's a somewhat unkempt person.
Yeah, you might be right.
Oh, Scurll blocks the claws.
Getting down to the action and everything, Marty Scurll, phenomenal wrestler, and just on the continuing on the rise in PWG. I thought the match was good. It had some moments where it was a little slow. But it got the crowd was totally into it, which is what you want to do as a performer. And as far as the action was in review, I was like, it ended well. Pretty good match.
I'm looking at ProWrestlingTees.com.
Okay.
And sure enough, there are, in fact, not just one, several variants of the Space Cat shirt.
Wow. Well, you got to make money these days. From the Colt Cabana to the Young Bucks to like every single wrestler on the indie scene now. They all have multiple T-shirts because they're smart. This business has gotten smart. So,
But yeah, back and forth match, good match. Again, nothing really. Obviously, this was after halftime. Obviously, the hardcore match between Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta, that was the match going into halftime, and intermission. I'm kind of glad it did because really the idea of having to follow that kind of match right away. It's probably something you don't want to wish on anybody. Mm-hmm. So this is the first match at intermission. It was fine. It was a great way to get the crowd back into the show. Obviously, it was this entire night felt like it's been kind of slow. Nothing's been really bad. I think the way I described it perfectly was if you saw this match on Raw or a WWE pay-per-view, you'd be like, That was a pretty good match,
Absolutely.
all things considered. But on a Pro Wrestling Guerrilla match, is like, meh.
Okay, this one may, quality-wise, quality control, other than, like, again, the theatrics of, like, getting the crowd into it and everything, it may have been the worst match on the show. But that still means it's a good match. And PWG, I mean, I'll just tell you folks right now, like, up and down, the entire DVD, every match is good or great, or even some stuff that will be blow away later. But
I think the thing is we've been spoiled for so many years of PWG, so that when they put out a card like this, it's like, I guess it's pretty good, but really, I guarantee you, if had this been someone's first Pro Wrestling Guerrilla show,
oh my god,
after watching WWE, or even someone who like watches lots of pro wrestling on the internet, it's like the idea they're watching this match for the first time. It's like, this is an amazing show. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah,
but we're obviously we're sort of a little jaded, I guess, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla fans. But like I said, nothing's been bad so far. Everything's been
and honestly, there are many. Half that crowd, have been going to the shows, for maybe years, they've definitely watched several dozen PWG DVDs at this point. So that's really, I would hope would become our core audience, we're really speaking to you because we're at the same place that you're at. And, nothing, I don't think there could be anybody who can really argue at this point. Nothing's been blow away on this show yet. So everything's been good. And, I thought the Cobb match and the Best Friends match was a lot of fun. But this may have been the slowest match of the lot. So.
This would have been your average Pro Wrestling Guerrilla show, but for an anniversary show, this was.
That's true.
Yeah, that another reason why maybe we're holding this maybe to an unfair standard.
Right, absolutely.
All right, that match went 23 seconds. Moving on to our co-main event.
23.
It went 20 minutes and 23 seconds.
Wow, that's no wonder I felt long. All right, go. All right, go into the next one.
All right, our co-main event of the night, if you will.
Yes.
The Pro Wrestling Guerrilla tag team titles were defended. The Young Bucks, the champions, defended their titles against Death by Elbow, Chris Hero, and JT Dunn.
Absolutely. This match is fun. A lot of people, when they hear Young Bucks, they think of a certain type of match, and it's going to have nothing.
And that's what they got.
Well, I mean, they did get that, but they got. They think it's a certain type of match, and they think that maybe nothing but high spots and super kick, super kick.
Which we did get this, but I know what you mean. It wasn't the entire match.
No, and it was like a blending of two matches. Like the beginning of the match. Very old school, very limited on the super kick front, honestly. But
not light on the suck it chance.
Yeah, not light at all on the suck it chance. It's like the suck is like the ball that keeps the match rolling. But a lot of work on JT Dunn. Playing the role of Ricky Morton in this position.
They got the heat on JT Dunn, is what you're saying.
Exactly. And then you got. Big old Chris Hero, Are you
making light of his weight, sir?
Well, everybody does that. The guy is amazing. He's phenomenal, but he kind of run in the best possible way, and I'm sure he would take this as a compliment. He reminded me of like an 80s match with like Dusty Rhodes teaming up with like Nikita Koloff or whatever against maybe the Horsemen.
I don't know. I would take offense to be compared to a big fat man.
I know, but I'm not saying that, Chris. If you're listening right now, that's not what I'm saying.
He's coming to get you,
by elbow, I'm sure. No, it's just like he had like the psychology down of a Dusty Rhodes. I thought in this match, he was just like this figure. I mean, this man who's been PWG World Champion, this man who's main evented many anniversary shows. This guy is, in some ways, if you think of the entirety of PWG, he's one of the main faces of PWG. And so he's like this icon of PWG, as are the Young Bucks. But he's a singles wrestler, primarily. He's been involved in tag team acts recently. And it's just like, man, it's like this world champion type wrestler, and he's doing the face stuff, and he's a little bigger, yeah, but
he could still go. Even some of the spots he did when he was doing like this springboard stuff off the top rope, and I'm like, wow, the guy can still.
Yeah,
move.
Dusty couldn't do that. That's true. That's not what I'm talking. Like a modern Dusty.
Maybe that's why Dusty Rhodes is no longer with us. He attempted that.
Oh, that's too soon.
He thought, come on, baby. If Chris Hill can do it, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to do it.
I love Dusty, man. I love Dusty. I mean, that's the thing. I'm a huge Dusty Rhodes fan. So as a commentator, he was one of the all-time best. Marco Raniero and Michael Cole would hope to be half as good as Dusty Rhodes was the commentator.
He got a bicycle. The dragon screw leg whip.
The big clubberins. So I love Dusty. So anyway, what are we talking about here?
We're talking about the tag team match, dude.
So let's get back to this.
We're having too much fun, to be honest.
The Young Bucks, they're phenomenal, and I like this match a lot. This is one of my favorite one of my favorite Young Buck matches I've seen in the past year. It's a little slower towards the end, though. You get all your super kicks in,
that's the thing I was noticing. I'm like, we're 10, 15 minutes in this match, and we have not seen all that many super kicks.
Yeah,
maybe
one or two.
Maybe the Bucks have moved on. Maybe
no, I can tell you they have not.
Maybe they stopped using the super kicks as much. No, when we got into the finishing stretch of this match, there were repeated super kicks. There were several There was a super kick party.
Yes,
I don't know if you were invited, but I was invited to the super kick party.
I was definitely invited.
I was about to say, was it lost in the mail? An invitation to the super kick party.
I thought the party was a little shorter than usual, but I mean, it definitely would make everybody happy watching it. The Bucks fans are looking for all the flips and the flops and the kicks and
you still got that, but just not as egregious as they've been before in the past.
Exactly. I thought you got two great matches out of one match right here. You got the old school tag team wrestling match, and then you got the Bucks match.
Yeah, and another thing is, obviously, I was talking about the Young Bucks throwing the super kicks as well. And sort of to go back to what I was saying earlier, to the 10, 15-minute mark, I'm like, for a team that's called Death by Elbow, I've seen very few elbows.
There's some elbows.
But no, I'm saying just like the Bucks with the super kicks. When we got to the finishing stretch, we saw elbow after elbow after super kick.
There was no comparison between the amount of kicks that the Young Bucks do and any wrestling moves that anyone else really does, let alone elbows, for sure, by Chris Hero or JT Dunn.
Yeah, so far, this has probably been my match of the night so far. This is what I expect from a Pro Wrestling Guerrilla anniversary show. This is what I expect from a Young Bucks match. So I was very happy. Up until this point, I was like, "This is a fairly decent show by Pro Wrestling Guerrilla standards." But up until now, I've been so. This match put me back in my Pro Wrestling Guerrilla mood.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's like there's a lot of heat, right? There's a lot of heat. The fans are just electric all night long, and there's a lot of heat in this match. That, or at least storyline wise, that Hero hates the Bucks, and they have a history together. And you think Chris Hero is such a phenomenal wrestler on his own, teaming up with JT Dunn, who's a relative unknown for PWG circles. Maybe he is going to take those titles from the Bucks, but nope, no such luck. So.
Not today.
So, yeah.
Okay, match went 22-26.
22-26.
All right, moving on to our main event. I do that in quotes for people who have or have not seen this show yet, who don't want spoilers.
It is the main event.
Yes. Well,
there
all
might be another match. It's not the last match.
But it's the main event.
Yes.
It's Zack Sabre Jr. defending his Pro Wrestling Guerrilla heavyweight title against Kyle O'Reilly.
This match is phenomenal. I loved it. It's everything that you would expect. Well, maybe a little more than you would expect from Kyle and Zach. One thing I found surprising about this is I was kind of looking at the clock when we were watching it, and I was like, oh, this is like a 20-minute match. And I'm really old school in that, when it's a big world title match and it's a big show, and you got somebody like Zack Sabre Jr. versus Kyle O'Reilly, this match to be feel like, oh, this is like an awesome classic world title match. For it to feel that way for me, it's got to be 30 plus, 30 minutes plus. But no, they were able to tell a phenomenal story with the time that they gave themselves, and nothing felt wasted. There was a great technical wrestling match, lots of strikes as you would expect, lots of back and forth. These are two of my favorite wrestlers right now, and probably I expect for a very long time to come. So I don't know, how did you feel about it?
It's funny. It's coming. This is coming off the heels of a Young Bucks match that's very flippy, where. This is, especially when you talk about Zack Sabre Jr., is very mat-based. Obviously, there was a Sort of, I guess, a clash of styles to a degree. Obviously, Kyle O'Reilly, who has that very grounded sort of that MMA with strikes and traditional jiu-jitsu, where you had Zack Sabre Jr., who has sort of that softball kind of European joint manipulation style. Really, it says a lot about the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla crowd base that they can get behind a guy like this. Because really, obviously, talking about the Bucks earlier, they're a very flippy style, they're very cosmetically pleasing style, they're a very fun style. The fact that they can get behind a style of match that Zack Sabre Jr. has really speaks to the diversity of the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla's palette as far as pro wrestling is concerned.
Absolutely, and maybe that's something for non-PWG fans to listen to about, because, I mean...
Well, for those who are critical of like indie pro wrestling, it's like, well, have you watched Zack Sabre Jr.? Have you watched Kyle O'Reilly?
Right, exactly. No, I just, maybe people feel like that PWG is a certain thing and they don't watch it that much or whatever, like how we feel Impact Wrestling is a certain thing and Lucha Underground is a certain thing or this and that. But yeah, I mean, for those that don't know, I mean, yeah, when you see somebody like Zack Sabre Jr., you're looking at a world-class competitor, and he's got a completely different style than maybe you imagine PWG style being. But I think, while PWG does have a certain, fast-paced, flippy style and all this, it's also got a world-class style. Like, it's just like everything's world-class, like best, that you could possibly find. As far as technical wrestlers in the ring, Zack Sabre Jr. is the best technical wrestler not signed by WWE, and probably better than anybody else. Maybe as good as AJ Styles. Honestly, he's really freaking good. And as far as the people that PWG can get, he's the best technical wrestler in the world. So
So yeah, it's kind of good that you have someone like Zack Sabre Jr. Was their world champion, is the face of the company to a degree.
Yeah, absolutely. He sets a different tone. The fans are completely into him because he sets a different tone. He's different from everything else. I mean, you can be different from everything else and be at the top of your game. The right audience is going to totally catch on to that and love you. So that's how the fans treat Zack Sabre. Of course, O'Reilly has been a top guy in PWG for years and years now. So really surpassing as far as his work in ROH. And his work now in PWG, I mean, he's really surpassing a lot of guys that he's been compared to for years. And yeah, I mean, he's just a great wrestler to watch.
Yeah, great main event here. Zack Sabre Jr. retains his title at 22 minutes. Great match. Really, the way it looked on paper, it looked like this was the end of the show. It was a great capper. It was a great main event on a pretty decent show.
Right. Like, at this point, I recommend the DVD. You have one match that you should go out of your way to watch, the one that's like, okay, must see. Kyle O'Reilly, Zack Sabre Jr. The tag match, very close to that, phenomenal, a lot of fun, Yeah,
all the stuff I'd recommend. Obviously, it's sort of cringeworthy because, you're here watching, but they end up fine at the end. But the Chuck Taylor, Trent Beretta match, that match, for those of you who like that kind of match, it was a really good match.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeff Cobb, really, I would buy the DVD if just sort of I could sort of document the career of one Jeff Cobb, because really, this is a guy who's really going some places.
He is definitely going to be going some places. Yeah.
And it's really, I can't really think of anyone to compare him to, because obviously because of his weight, I sort of jokingly compared him to Samoa Joe, but really he's got a completely different style.
Actually, the guy just as far as his moveset goes, I would compare him to is Brock Lesnar, and that's because Brock, before he, became like a main eventer in WWE, like as he was coming up with OVW, he did like an awesome shooting star press.
That's right.
Right? So like it's a lot of agility. Of course, he did that shooting star press for a big moment at WrestleMania 19 and like stunned himself. I forget, like it was like a neck issue. I think it was just a stunner, but it was a very, the way it worked out, that shooting star press, not so great, and he decided never to do it again, and he doesn't need it. But Cobb's still breaking into the business, and maybe when he gets to college to the big leagues, maybe he won't do as many agility, as many flips and flops and like awesome moves like that. Maybe he'll just fix to suplexes, and that'll be enough.
Well, I think he's going to be sort of like I'm trying to think of a comparison to maybe like maybe an Apollo Crews, where he's a guy that he's a really good wrestler, he's a big guy, but at the same time he can go out there and do standing shooting star presses.
Right, absolutely. He's got that kind of stuff going to him. and a suplex game on top of it.
Yeah,
so,
and I'm not here complaining, but really, you see a lot of you don't really see a lot of guys that are like this nowadays. Because really, if you have someone with this kind of background and this kind of ability, you think they would go straight to UFC. Not that I'm complaining, by all means. It's like,
right.
But really, you expect a guy like this to go into UFC considering his background. But I guess we get to benefit from his decisions, and I'm certainly not complaining.
Absolutely, not everybody needs to go to UFC.
You would believe that would be the end of our show.
Oh, yes, you would believe that.
But you would be wrong.
You would be wrong.
We have an unlisted. It's not really dark because it's not really like WWE really do it on television or off pay-per-view. But
no.
We had an unannounced. There we go. That's the term I want to use.
Unannounced.
A Pro Wrestling Guerrilla title defense. Another one.
The second one.
A second title defense. A no disqualification match, as is listed here on. Although I don't know really.
I don't really know if that was really defined on the DVD. As far as anything that the ref said or the announcer said.
Yeah, because after Zack Sabre Jr. obviously defended his title, who comes out but Roderick Strong to immediately challenge Zack Sabre Jr. for his Pro Wrestling Guerrilla title, and the referee, whether or not you want to agree, decides to make it a no disqualification. He doesn't make it a no disqualification, but he makes it a title match,
right?
Which I found odd.
It was too important to end on a disqualification. That's what you have to understand about it, Tony. No, it's had a lot of. There was
a lot of that tonight, really. Going back to earlier, it's like, okay, sort of in the Chuck Taylor Trent Beretta match, it's like, I don't really understand how this is still a straight match, but I can sort of justify it. And later on, especially here in the main event, it's like, okay, dudes are just running in, and it's like nobody cares.
PWG just can do whatever they want. Like I mean, they're like the Beatles, are bigger than God. They don't need to worry about these. Minor logistical problems.
This is a match. This is the match that even make Paul Heyman and the way he can sometimes overbook stuff to shame. It's like, really, you're gonna have all these run-ins. You're gonna have, I think, what was it? The Young Bucks came out to help out Roderick Strong.
Of course. They wanted to help out Roddy, their teammate Matt Rushmore, and to win the title. Why wouldn't they want to do that?
But it's like, okay, if this was WWE, I would fully expect Teddy Long to bust out and say, "This is a tag team match, holla!"
But it's not WWE. So I and then who comes out? Marty Scurll, Kyle O'Reilly is still out there. And they kind of fended off, and I think Adam Cole also was out there too.
Yeah, towards the end of the match, Adam Cole came out. Yeah. He had to contend with Roderick Strong and Adam Cole, but he defied the odds, and he was able to get the pin on Roderick Strong. Match went 5 minutes and 30 seconds.
Oh, is that Sabre Jr. was able to get the pin on Roderick Strong? Yeah.
Sorry about that, mate. Did I say that the other way around?
No. I just got confused. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice, fun match and a great way to say goodbye to Roddy. I mean, it was just kind of like, you watch the Timothy Thatcher match, it's like, anticlimactic way of Roderick Strong, this huge name in PWG for so many years, to leave the company. No, he's got to leave it at the tight, You're not going to give him maybe the top billing in the main event, but he was kind of like the main event. He's the last match on the show, and it was just like, oh my God, this is out of nowhere. He's going to win the world title from Zack Sabre Jr. He's going to leave with it. You don't know. I mean, most fans, I think, knew that he was not going to leave with it.
We're going to have the Summer of Strong.
that's the idea that they're trying to project, and I thought it came off pretty cool and fun. And it was 5 minutes of fun and mayhem.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you mentioned earlier, it was a tearful goodbye. Roderick Strong. We're seeing a lot more of this in PWG. Just guys who come in really blow the fans away, win the world title, and then eventually they just go off and sign WWE.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, on some hand, you're sad to see these guys go away, but you're happy that they're going off to these careers where they're making a lot more money. And at the same time, really, we're talking about guys in the undercard like Jeff Cobb who probably going to benefit from something like this, where they're probably going to be bumped up in the card. There's several people we were mentioning earlier, the other Southern California wrestlers that maybe they could find a spot with all these guys signed to WWE.
Right.
So
I don't know if that'll ever happen, but I think there's a certain thing in management that's just like, we can't use local guys. They use Brian Cage. He's local, but other than that,
Well, like we were talking about earlier, Ryan Taylors of the world and the Rock Ness Monsters.
They might get at least one match. Like the next Rock Ness Monsters, the next Ryan Taylor's out there, and it's good to be seen, right? So this is the hottest indie company that's been around since ECW. Let's face it, the height of what it is we have not seen anything like this in 20 years. So, yeah, I mean, that all eyes are on the PWG rings. There's only 500 or so fans that get to go to a show. They're sticking with that venue, come hell or high water, and that's why guys like us start covering them. I mean, like, we focus on PWG because it is what everyone else is focusing on.
Yeah, it's like that neighborhood burger place. It's your place, so you defend it, even though sometimes they make some questionable decisions. They maybe don't run into the venues, but you don't care. Right. It's your homegrown company, so you're willing to defend it.
And in that respect, it's like, if those of us that live in Southern California, it's the homegrown thing that's basically become in and out, and McDonald's is the WWE, or so. Like, it's like, we all know where the much better hamburgers come from, and it's in and out.
There you go. Yeah, so that's going to do it for this show. I definitely recommend you pick this up. It's a really good buy.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we described everything pretty well. You must see Kyle O'Reilly versus Zack Sabre Jr. The tag title match, phenomenal. Also good work, and everything else solid as well.
Yeah, so we highly recommend this show. Now, Dave, explain to people what this podcast is going to be going forward. I think we were spitballing this idea for a Pro Wrestling Guerrilla podcast for quite a while. Obviously,
right.
We're Southern California guys, been going to Pro Wrestling Guerrilla now for 9 and 10 years.
Yes,
we've been going forever. We just decided let's do something different. Let's do something that people don't cover exclusive. Let's do a podcast on Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. So this is sort of one aspect of what we're going to be doing going forward. We're going to be doing DVD reviews. I imagine we're going to start going back to live shows again. We went to Bola, but I don't know if we went to all 3 nights, or I think we may have gotten there late a couple times. But we're going to be covering every single DVD review. I think you mentioned earlier that we're going to be doing maybe from the vault, like old Pro Wrestling Guerrilla shows.
Yeah, well, PWG has a lovely history. I mean, guys, Daniel Bryan has an extensive history there. CM Punk has definitely worked in there for more than probably half a dozen shows. I mean, it was founded with main event like Frankie Kazarian versus AJ Styles. AJ Styles is a big part of the PWG history as well, being a former PWG world champion. Guys like Seth Rollins, Cesaro. I mean, the names go on and on and on. Of course, Kevin Owens, right? And with that many, over 100 shows, with that many DVDs, and the sporadic nature of PWG currently, yeah, you'll definitely see us open up an old DVD and, review it from the vault, and hopefully it's one of the better ones, and we can recommend them.
And if a couple of the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla brass or some of the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla talents listening, we'll be more than happy to have you come on, talk about your memories, or just what PWG means to you.
Absolutely. I mean, former workers have worked there over the years, and there's so many locally in SoCal. I'm sure we will get somebody on here, maybe with a old school review of a show. As far as current things going on, I also like to lay out that invitation to any PWG fans that attend the shows regularly, to join us for a brief chat about your experiences of current PWG shows.
All right, I think that's going to do it for this first episode of Guerrilla Radio.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks for listening. My name's Tony Galvin.
I'm David.
Thanks for checking out the show, and catch you later.